Hey adventurers, today I'm going to be doing a review for a recently released book, Operation Grendel by Daniel Schwabauer. This came out March 9th, 2021, and I got a hold of it pretty soon after its release, and I read it and I loved it and I wanted to do a review for you all. So overall, my rating for this book is 4.75 stars out of 5. So this is a military science fiction. Its age range is adult or young adult, and I think it was really well written. So I'm going to break it down like I normally do, starting with characters. Raymond Dahl is the main character of this story. He's a journalist, and I'm not going to go too much more into the details about his personality or anything like that because of spoilers. I don't want to fall into the spoiler trap. But the character arc of Raymond is very impressive. The character we see at the beginning is changed naturally but dramatically by the end of the story. He is the same person, but his motivations and his desires have evolved throughout the book. And watching how Raymond struggled with the extreme temptation and seeing the moral line in his perspective become fuzzy and how he dealt with that was very engaging and personally challenging as well. So I gave characters a full star. There were side characters, of course, as there always is, but it did focus a lot on Raymond himself. So moving on to plot, I gave plot a full star as well. It's about Raymond, who, like I said, is a journalist, and he's on the hunt of a story of a lifetime. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis. Military journalist Raymond Dahl thinks he's finally getting the story of a lifetime. Secret peace talks on a remote tropical moon are about to surrender 5 colonized worlds and 600 million civilians to a ruthless enemy. But when his commanding officer, Captain Ansel Sterling, is fatally wounded before the negotiations can begin, Dahl can no longer just report on the mission. He's ordered to complete it. With help from the AI embedded in Sterling's comms bracelet, Dahl must impersonate his commander, a Marine Corps hero and psychological operations expert. However, Sterling's AI may be luring him to surrender more than he realizes, and the mission Corporal Dahl thinks he's running isn't the only operation underway. The plot surprised me a lot. There was the initial story goal, which, due to the military side of things and a lot of the jargon related to that, I didn't follow super well just because I'm very unfamiliar with that. But within a respectable amount of time into the story, I was able to grasp a clear goal that we were working towards, something that I wanted to start, as a reader, I wanted to see completed. The plot continued with the story goal well, and without going into spoilers, there was a plot twist in this book that absolutely blew my mind. It was incredible, it was well set up for, and I did not predict it or anticipate it in the slightest. So plot gets a full star. Moving on to themes. So the main theme that stuck out to me thinking back on this book in retrospection is that truth is the best psychological operation. This book is signed, and after my name it says truth is the best PSYOP, which is Synopsis, the psychological operations. So that's what kind of made me realize that truth was it. And there was so much, the topic of propaganda and revelation of truth, what propaganda is. This is talking about a military world where propaganda is very heavily used. This is a journalist we're following. What does psychological warfare actually look like is another aspect of a theme we see in here. And what is worth sacrificing for is another theme we see really strongly. I mentioned earlier that when the moral line for Raymond became fuzzy is when things got really interesting, really complicated, and that tied in with the themes. I think that there's deeper themes in this book than you normally would see in a sci-fi, and that's because it does focus so much on truth. And I think a lot of times sci-fis tend to deviate and to focus on the world and their fantastic worlds, but the themes are a little bit harder to pick out. I gave themes a full star. They were more difficult it was a little bit difficult to pick out, but themes were very strong, knowing what's worth sacrificing for, believing the truth, and, realizing that the truth isn't always what feels good. The truth is the truth. So I gave themes its full star. World/setting, we're set in Earth-like planets, settlements, but we're not on Earth. They do refer to things like a day, Terra, and they reference that so that we know it's 24 hours daytime. But mostly all the settings we're seeing in this book are also new to the main character, so it's not like the writer is trying to show us the world. The character is experiencing this new world to him as well. So getting our bearings is the same to the main character as it is for us, which was a really effective way to do that. I gave world/setting a full half star because it was very natural and very subtle, and the way it was presented was believable, and the realism of it was very, very satisfying, especially for a sci-fi. We have uniqueness factor, what makes this book just a little bit different from everything else. I think the AIs, which are so prevalent in this story, would fall under the special or the uniqueness factor. I'm an inexperienced sci-fi reader. I only have a few books under my belt here, but those are my thoughts on the uniqueness factor. The whole feel of the book was so, it's weird, but it didn't feel like fiction some of the time. And it was really interesting seeing how that was done. The real aspect of it, the realism, that was very well portrayed. So general thoughts here. Initially I did struggle with the military jargon, which I already mentioned. I'm very unfamiliar with that type of thing, and I scrambled to get my bearings at the very beginning. I did eventually figure out what was going on. There's a lot of character-focused sides to the story, and I'm able to follow those a lot more than the technical sides of things. And I appreciated that it was very character-focused. The opening chapter is excellent, excellent. It definitely hooked me into the book. But in my personal opinion, the plot and the story goal, everything became just a little bit fuzzy after that first and second chapter, actually. It all slowed down. It did pick up once about a third of the way into the book. It picked up and it drew me back in, and I was engaged in the reading again. But there was a very small time period where I was just waiting for something to happen, I think. And it did. It did happen, but there was a little bit of time where I was bored. That's the only reason why my overall rating of this book is not quite 5 stars, but is 4.7 stars, because I went into the story hoping and really hoping I wasn't going to be bored reading it, and I was, and just for a little bit, and the ending was so satisfying that I definitely love this book, and I want to read it again already. I think it's one that I can get a lot more out of with a second read through of it. And then a quick thought about the writing style. It was a very engaging writing style. There wasn't too many adverbs. The writing was strong and not jarring and just overall pleasant. So yeah, that's my rating for you all. I have 4.7 stars for Operation Grendel by Daniel Schwabauer. If you like science fiction and you like a little bit deeper themed stories, I would recommend this for sure. If you have any more questions thinking about reading it, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to chat with you about it. Thank you all for watching. Please like this video, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Stay warm.